G'day Internet, welcome back to another video. Today I've got something for you that I'm going to hazard a guess most of you probably haven't seen or heard of before. Here in Australia, this games console was known as the Dick Smith Wizzard, but it was an import and it was sold around the world under various other names. So to get started, how about a bit of a backstory?
Looking for a TV game? These games are good, but we don't think they're as good as the Dick Smith Wizzard.
Wow, look at the fantastic picture.
With a picture made of 49,000 dots, thousands and thousands more than the other game.
The Wizzard tennis game is the greatest.
The Wizzard has real space-age controllers, not just simple sticks, and special game overlays that show you how to play.
Unreal. Auto chase and air sea attack.
Sonic Invader, Tank Attack and Planet Defender.
The most brilliant feature, a cartridge converting your Wizzard to a personal computer with the same microprocessor as the Apple computer. And the cost of the Wizzard only $295. That's 200 under comparable units.
The Dick Smith Wizzard.
Exclusive to Dick Smith Electronics.
Now, I'm sure you've all heard of the company called VTech out of Hong Kong. VTech are a company that have over the years made everything from little child learning devices all the way through to full-blown computers like the Laser XT and the 128 and even the Laser 310 that I featured recently on the channel. VTech were a company happy to sell any foreign importer their products to be rebranded in other markets. So we come to what is known in Australia as the Dick Smith Wizzard, but it's known elsewhere as the VTech CreatiVision, or the EduCat 2002, or the FunVision, or the Hanamex Ramesses. It was released in 1982. It's a console very much of its time. That era kind of somewhere between the Atari VCS, but before the Nintendo Entertainment System. And much like its contemporaries, its styling is a throwback to the 1970s, made of textured black plastic and fake wood grain. It's also of that time where some manufacturers thought the future of home consoles and home computers would combine. So we're talking about machines like the Mattel Intellivision with its computer add-on or the Coleco Atom. The CreatiVision sports Intellivision-ish controllers that could be combined into a QWERTY keyboard. BASIC was available on cartridge and more computer-related accessories were available, which we'll get into a bit later on. Now, the CreatiVision was by no means a sales success. It was kind of popular here in Australia, but that was about it. And by the end of 1985, VTech had discontinued its manufacture. Now, the console that we have here is fully functional. You can see it running, and it does, for the most part, work. But it is, let's just say, a little on the grubby side. So I want to tear it apart to give it a clean anyway. So while we've got it apart, we'll take a look inside to see what makes it tick. Just as a heads up, there's no real surprises going on inside. And I'll also do a small modification to give it some composite video. So I think step one is to pull it to pieces. So pulling one of these apart isn't overly difficult. There's just a couple of tricks to it. The first thing you want to do is remove the controllers, which have just got a small clip on them, and they can go to one side. Although the clip can be a little annoying. There we go. Next, their side panels need to come off. Now, one side's easy, the other one's got a bit of a trick to it. So if we flip it over, we've got these plastic clips here and here. If I grab a small pair of pliers, on the, well, non-cartridge side, we simply give it a twist and the little thing comes out. We'll carefully put that to one side. It slides back and easily comes off. On this side, we remove the same clip, but if I grab a small screwdriver, if I can find the one I want, there's a kind of a lip inside here, so you need to kind of push in at 45 degrees and down, and then it goes click, and it also comes off, and we can put that carefully to one side. Then there's just the 6 screws on the bottom. And from there, the cover should just lift off. There we go. Here we get our first look inside, but I do want to remove the main board. And to be brutally honest with you, I haven't actually done that before. Take these buttons off. This one's just clipped. Put them to one side. There's a screw underneath this switch, so I'm guessing these have to come out. Or at least get out of the way. Right. Let's disconnect. This panel here slides out, so let's disconnect the RF cable, seeing as it's going to go bye-bye eventually. It's held in by a couple of screws. Right. That gets rid of the RF cable out of the way. And I think it's just a bunch of screws around the outside. Oop, lost one. Come on. And there we go. So the bottom and the top I'll go give a scrub, and we can take a better look of what's inside. So here is the main board of our CreatiVision, or Wizzard, or whatever you want to call it. Stuck down the bottom here is our 7689 sound chip from Texas Instruments. We've got a Motorola supplied 6821 PIA, or peripheral interface something. We've got a ROM over here. Here is our Rockwell made 6502 running at 2 megahertz. And I'm guessing underneath this heatsink is our Texas Instruments 99, either 18 or 29, depending on what area of the world you live in, video chip. You will also find this chip in computers like the MSX and the ColecoVision. It's a chip capable of doing a resolution of 256 by 192 pixels in 16 colors with some rudimentary sprite capabilities. So along the top here is our 16 kilobytes of video memory, and one of these chips around here will be our 1 kilobyte of system memory. Now, I've obviously started bolting this thing back together, but it seemed an opportune time to take a look at that composite mod that I mentioned. Now, this is not the most sophisticated modification in the world. It doesn't require resistors or capacitors or anything like that. It is literally just wiring some RCA ports to some spots on the board. Now, for those RCA ports, the easiest thing would be to do is simply just drill some holes in this removable back panel, mount some jacks, and off you go. But I am legitimately trying harder these days to not drill holes randomly into my equipment. And look, I've been guilty of it before, just like many others have. So I jumped on my computer and I designed this. This is a replacement back panel, which takes the DIN connector, the power DIN connector, which is mounted to this with some screws, and gives us space for 3 RCA ports. And obviously I've already wired them up. This is obviously a mono console, so I've just simply wired left and right audio together. And this is just a case of unscrewing the original DIN connector. And putting in place the new one. Assuming I can line the holes up. There we go. And this should just slip back in where the original one was. Oh, come on. Right. The top cover will hold it in place. I promise. So to solder in these RCA ports, it's quite tricky because it's quite cramped down here for me to do it and show you at the same time. So I'm just going to show you where it all gets wired up to. We've got a ground port just here, which is reasonably easy to get to, and a nice big chunk of fluff. Let me get that out of there. Audio, we tap into where it comes into the RF modulator, which is just here. And video, we come off the emitter of this transistor just here. So it's this point right there. Now, in the process of putting this all back together, you may have noticed that I left one of the wood grain sides off it. And that brings us to the first accessory that I want to show you. If you remember in the intro, I mentioned that this came with basic on cartridge. Well, if you wanted to be able to save any of your basic work, you would need some kind of medium to do that. And I introduced to you the cassette deck, which hangs off the side. And this simply plugs in to the side and latches on just like the side panels did. Unless it wants to fight me. There we go. And there's another one of those clips in underneath. And then we can take our side panel and put it on. And there we go. So for the budding home computer enthusiast, we now had a machine running BASIC and you could save your work. But this now brings us on to the second accessory. This keyboard here is rubbish, beyond rubbish. This is comparable to, say, a ZX81. So VTech and Dick Smith came up with an alternative, an only marginally better replacement keyboard. This is chiclet. Imagine like a ZX Spectrum. And to put this into place, you pop out the two controllers. You take your keyboard and you plug it in where they were. And this sits in where the controllers were. It's quite a neat solution. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still terrible, but it's neat. So now, purely out of curiosity, and I'll do it so you don't have to on this keyboard, which I'm not actually 100% sure works all that well, I'm going to attempt to type out Noel's benchmarking little basic program. I'm going to attempt to then save it to cassette, reload it back up, and then run it. Wish me luck. It's only 8 lines, but that was actually really painful to type. Okay, I believe the command is simply csave. Csave. Whoop. Got it on pause. Okay. Stop. Rewind. Okay, turn it off. Turn it back on again. And we should be able to go see load. Whoop. Enter. Play. Nope, it errored out. I'm guessing this tape isn't any good. Or there's something wrong with the cassette. Let me find another cassette. Right, couldn't actually put my hands quickly on another cassette, but side B seems okay, and I've been able to save and load. Now it's time to run Noel's benchmark. Assuming I've typed it out right. And go. No. Stop. Reset. Okay, we're up to 30 seconds and we haven't seen a single dot. Either it's crashed, or this is going to take the record for the slowest computer. But we have a dot at 40-ish seconds. Fortunately, I put my coffee somewhere. I can't find it. Although this is taking so long, I probably have time to find it. Coffee obtained. Right, obviously I'll put the exact number down in the corner, but that ran for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, if you're interested, the current record holder is a Casio pocket computer at 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's not the slowest machine, which I was expecting it to be, but you would never call it quick. So games of these systems would come in cardboard boxes. These are, well, I guess they're 40 years old, so they're pretty beaten up. But you would get your game in a box, and I've got a few here. I've got Auto Chase and Tennis and Mouse Puzzle and Astro Pinball, something called Police Jump, and usually got a little bit of a graphic on the back. And inside, if I take Sonic Invader, for instance, oh, it's fallen out the bottom. You would get an insert like you would, for instance, on an Intellivision. And inside, you would have your cartridge and possibly a small manual or a leaflet telling you about the game. This here is actually the book for BASIC that comes with the BASIC cartridge. And it's functional. It's not exactly the most entertaining book in the world. It's no, Commodore VIC-20 book or anything like that, but I guess it does the job. There were, of course, other books available. I've got Dick Smith's Fun Way into Computers Using Your Wizard. A bit kind of the same as the normal BASIC manual, maybe a little bit more kind of written in English, but other than that, it kind of goes through everything you might want to do in BASIC. And First Book of Programs for the Dick Smith Wizzard, which is, as you would suggest, just lists and lists and lists of BASIC programs. What day of the week is it? Wizard Clock. What else we got? Music Box. What was that one? Wizard Sketch. Righto. Right, so this is the bit in the video where things went a little sideways. I did the composite mod, everything was fine, and it worked, but honestly, the quality was terrible. It was basically the same quality as RF. It's just, I guess composite is a little bit more convenient. But other than that, I'll put up some footage that I managed to capture now. And it's just not great. The colors are all over the place and it's just terrible. So I did some digging around and it occurred to me that because this runs that TMS video chip, which is the same as the ColecoVision and the MSX, it's also the same one in my TI-99-4A. And if you remember back to that video, I put in a TMS RGB board. So I thought, I'll pull it out of it's only like a few wires and a couple of solder spots. So I pulled it out of the TI and I wired it into this. Now, it's better. It's certainly a lot better than composite. It's still pretty terrible. But that's why this is all in pieces. I did redesign the back panel to take a second DIN connector, so I've wired it all into an 8-pin DIN at the back here. And well, I wired it to match an existing SCART cable that I already had. So if you want to go down this route, you'll wire it however you want on the rear DIN plug. But it does work on the Dick Smith Wizzard. So with all that out of the way, we can actually check out some games. Now, as you saw before, I actually do have a stack of games, but I'm not going to use them. I have this. This is the CreatiVision Multicart. It was designed and made by Clockmeister and Cheshire, New York, here in Australia. And because the games library for this console is so tiny, all the games fit on an entire EEPROM, and you just change games with some dip switches. So if I plug this in, let's play some pinball and a few others. So that there is the Dick Smith Wizzard, or the CreatiVision, or one of the other names it was sold under. Look, it is very much a console of its time. There's no arguments about that whatsoever. Do I like it? Yes, but not necessarily because of its abilities or anything like that. I like it because of its uniqueness and the fact that there's not really that many left of them. Does it have its faults? Absolutely. The controllers are terrible. The add-on keyboard is just as bad as the one that's actually built into it. I'm fairly certain that the still rather average RGB video that I'm getting out of it is primarily caused by just the cheap construction of the thing to begin with. Although if you do have any ideas of how I can improve this video, please let me know down in the comments. I would very much appreciate it, and if something comes of it, I will do a follow-up video. But I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got to see something that you would not normally get to see. If you did, like, subscribe, all the usual YouTubey stuff. I'd like to thank all my wonderful Patreons who are scrolling up the screen now, and if you would like to help support the channel, there is a link in the description. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.